Well, it's times like this. All I can truly sit here and say is, oh, I was right, ye boy! I mean, I had like 3 theories. Everyone kind of figured this. They made it pretty obvious. But it doesn't matter. I'm taking the ego win. Yo. Now I'm sad she's gone. Anyways, so yeah. Build Divide, episode 10. We are nearing our big season finale as our 2 representatives of a toy commercial brand are going to face off for one final battle. But before that, we need this episode. Because this episode actually does a lot, and I really dig just the choices made and how they go about everything. So yeah, you see this in not just card game anime, but most sort of like action type media in general. Before the big fight between our main protagonist and antagonist, there's going to be a preamble fight. The villain will have a fight where they're going to take out someone close to the hero, so that way there is a big motivation for defeating the antagonist as well as reestablishing the antagonist as a big threat. You see, especially in like card game anime, you always sort of have this thing of, well, how do you make a villain seem threatening when all they're doing is playing a card game? Also, from there, you can also make the argument that, well, you know, you just gotta learn how to beat their deck and it's fine. So therefore, the best thing to do is to sort of present what they've done here. In this episode, Kika, for the most part, treats Sakura like her plaything. She spends the entire episode just being mean and nasty and saying everything she can to just, like, strip this girl down and demoralize her. Strip this girl down might be bad words. We literally saw them strip this girl down. The show is weird. Anyways. But yeah, no, it's kind of just that. Sakura walks in, and the fight begins, and Kika just kind of takes over the whole episode. The actress has such this great, just like, force to everything she says. You always feel this sense of anger, aggression, just kind of like this desire to take out all her angers on the world on just whoever is unfortunate enough to be in front of her, and this time it ends up being Sakura. The whole fight, Kika is just mad and jealous that like Teruto has spent all this time with her and helped her out, and then when you get the big revelation of Kika going, "You're just from me," she says it with just such this like enthusiasm, but just this maliciousness to it. You just get the feeling, as far as she's concerned, she just wants to twist that knife as hard as she can before she beats Sakura. And I think it does a very good job of making Kika seem threatening going into the finale. We've spent a lot of the show treating Kika not really like a villain, just more as an antagonist. We saw in her backstory how her and Teruto's childhood went and how things kind of went wrong for her. And so therefore, there's a lot of sympathy for the character. So what's the best way to put us into a situation where we can root against her and want to see Teruto win for the big final fight? Well, show her just hurting someone and, like, wanting to inflict violence and now beating Sakura and uniting the 2 sides of Kika's mind or whatever the fuck that's about is just going to result in even more crazy shit. Now, if you wanted to complain, and there's definitely a certain argument for this, it is a very old cliche in screenwriting of having it be that a female character suffers for a male character to then kind of like rise and like beat the bad guy. A lot of times the only reason a female character will get hurt is to hurt the male main character, is to indirectly hurt the male main character. I don't know if that's really what's happening here, since Sakura did always have her own motivations and own goals, and it's established Kika kind of always needed to then kill Sakura to get what she wanted, but there is definitely a point of like, how do we get the weebs to root for the Teruto? Kill the waifu! You know, I don't really know if that's a thing that will bug a lot of people, but just a thing you kind of notice when you overanalyze this stuff like I inevitably have to kind of do. But yeah, no, the fight is really good. I like that Sakura puts up a good fight. She uses a lot of powerful cards, gets a ton of, what are they called, shot triggers? Like, damn, that girl got lucky, but then still lost. But yeah, no, I like the sort of like almost Madoka Magica-esque weird visuals that happen as Kika teases and taunts her. At one point, she turns into a weird puppet. We get like the weird lip licking of her lips. That was particularly creepy to me for some reason. Like just the idea that like she's just like getting madder and madder and reality is just getting more and more distorted. A nice little metaphor for what's insinuating is happening at the end of the episode. There's a lot of good interplay, and I just like those little details she just gives as we come to the big revelation. She's like, oh, look at this scar, or like, look at how happy you were, just like all of it leading to me. You see, because a lot of people figured out fairly early on, probably the minute it keyed into most of us was when we saw that the two used the same decks in the past, that these two characters were somehow related. I think we all kind of knew that this is where this was going, but what I think they did that was smart was that they still just chose to give it 110%. They didn't want the focus to be on the revelation of what Sakura is. They wanted the focus to just be on all the sadness and messed up emotion that goes along with it. You watch as this girl has to basically accept that her goal was meaningless. She didn't have family. She didn't have an origin. She just kind of showed up and was just kind of forced to just live this life that didn't really have any meaning or point to it. She really didn't feel like she had anything until Teruto showed up and she got wrapped up in it, but the irony is getting wrapped up in it is what just spelled doom for her in the end anyways. But yeah, let's talk about that. Let's talk about Teruto and the rest of the gang. First up, I want to bring up how seamlessly well integrated Teruto now having emotions and stuff like that has been worked into the story. There's no like weird awkwardness that sometimes happens when you have these sorts of character personality shifts. It just feels very natural and organic. Like this is what we were always going to, that he would kind of become the hero he needs to be. He just kind of needed to remember like why he was fighting and all that in the first place. I do give a lot of that onto Teruto's voice actors, but you know what? All the actors in this are pretty goddamn good, but I like the idea they're trying to just get in, and then the other dude shows up, and I was like, okay, fine, just teleport you. Like, just brings them in, like, no long wait. The only big thing is when he shows the metaphor of the two flowers, like, you know, do you want to live with the past, or do you want to face what's hard about the future? And I really like that bit. But yeah, no, so he then teleports them, main villain dude disappears to go do something else, and then Teruto shows up, and him and Sakura see each other one last time, and Teruto gives this really nice speech about how, you know, you wanted to do something and you helped me, and she's kind of thinking, well, why did he stick with me and all that. It's a really nice scene. It does feel weird though, because it's definitely written from the perspective of sort of like this would be like a romantic pairing. It doesn't feel like a surrogate brother-sister thing. It definitely has more of a romantic feel to it, which kind of gets awkward. You remember that Sakura is an offshoot of this guy's sister. But yeah, no. The fight then proceeds to end with, naturally, Kika has to win. And I really like the way Sakura's kind of exit from the story is handled. It's hard to say if this will be a permanent exit, as shows like this like to keep people around so they can market them later. But I really like the way it's handled. She just kind of defeats her, and she's almost kind of just like blinked out of existence. Everyone watches and is shocked. They're not afraid to just give like a few seconds of silence for it to just like resonate over you. She just kind of vanishes. She leaves her clothes behind. You just see all the Sakura petals. I really like the way everyone kind of treats the situation. Everyone just kind of like lets it come over them, and I like that the show was willing to give it time to have that moment. It's really good, and it's really well handled. And then, the big revelation, now that Sakura is gone and Kika can have 100% of whatever Sakura was, and turns into exactly the same. She looks no different. I thought she'd at least like turn her outfit, or maybe she'd get like, because since Sakura was a predominantly black colored character, there'd be more black now or something like that. Nah, she just like has all the cables and cords and shit around her. But the insinuation is at the end of the episode, now she has 100% of, I guess let's go with just her power. She's about to do some crazy shit, and if the visuals from this week were a nice insinuation as to what's going on, I'm seriously hoping the next 2 episodes are going to be something fucking badass. But yeah, no, so that was this week's episode of Build Divide. I really liked it. A lot's being done here that is very fun, very creative, and very well handled. It's the kind of show where you feel like the people having the most fun with it is not us, the viewers, it's the people who worked on it and put in a lot of time creatively. But yeah, no, in the comments section below, give me your thoughts on this episode, where it's going. Are you sad to see Sakura go? Were you like, we all know she had to freaking go anyways? Tell me about that below. And as always, click to like, click to subscribe, and join me next week as we move to the final battle.